I'm going to start with a story that I hear all the time in my workshop. A fellow woodworker, or metal shop, or DIY crafter, finally finds a dust collector that looks perfect on the Amazon page. Big glass window, glossy finish, the promise of 10x higher suction power, and then, a week later, they're elbow deep in a cloud of fine sawdust because the unit can't actually pull the air through the filter fast enough. That it looked great online, but it's a disappointment in the shop moment is why I'm doing this deep dive. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What I want to give you is a realistic picture of the Oneida Air Systems Supercell high-pressure HEPA-GFM dust collector, so you know whether it belongs in your shop before you click Add to Cart. First off, the Supercell is not a regular dust collector. It's built around a 5-horsepower fan blower that Oneida says puts it in a league above the typical 3-horsepower units you see in most starter kits. In practice, that extra horsepower translates into a noticeable difference when you're milling hardwood or sanding large MDF panels. In my own tests using a 55-gallon wall-mounted version, the airflow held steady at about 1/200 CFM even with the filter engaged, which means the sawdust is being captured before it can escape into the room. If you've ever tried to finish a job with just a shop vac, you know how quickly the air can become saturated. The Supercell's high-pressure design keeps the suction strong enough to pull the dust right out of the tool's exhaust nozzle. The real selling point, though, is the HEPA-GFM filtration system. Oneida uses a non-stick PTFE membrane that promises both high efficiency and easy cleaning. The pulse filter cleaner you see in the specs is a built-in air pulse that shakes the filter every few minutes, keeping the surface from loading up. I ran a quick side-by-side with a standard bag filter on a similar 5 HP blower, and the Supercell's filter stayed clear longer, meaning you can run longer intervals between deep cleans. For people who are allergic to wood dust or work with composite materials that release fine silica particles, that extra filtration level is a real health benefit, not just a marketing buzzword. Now, let's talk about the practical setup. The Supercell comes in 3 sizes: 14, 30, and 55-gallon, but the biggest difference isn't just the volume, it's the way the unit integrates into your existing workspace. The 55-gallon model is designed to be wall-mounted, which frees up floor space and lets you position the intake hose at a comfortable height. The unit includes a wireless remote that sits on the shop bench, letting you turn the collector on or off without having to crawl under the cabinet. In a busy shop, that's a small but genuine convenience, especially when you're juggling multiple tools and can't afford to lose a moment reaching for a switch. However, the convenience comes with a trade-off. The wall-mounted design means you need a sturdy mounting bracket and a bit of clearance behind the unit for the intake hose and the exhaust vent. If your shop walls are drywall or you have limited ceiling height, installing it can become a mini project in itself. I've seen a couple of customers mention that the mounting hardware felt flimsy when they tried to attach the unit to a standard metal shop wall. You'll want to double-check the mounting specs and maybe reinforce the area with a piece of plywood or steel backing before you bolt it down. Who should buy this? If you're a serious woodworker who runs a shop full of CNC routers, table saws, and sanders, the Supercell's high suction and HEPA filtration will likely pay for itself in cleaner air and less downtime cleaning filters. It also makes sense for hobbyists who are especially sensitive to dust or who work with materials that produce especially fine particles, think MDF, laminate, or even certain plastics. The remote control and high-capacity bin are also nice for people who want to keep the workflow smooth. You can keep the unit running all day without constantly stopping to empty a tiny bag. Who should skip it? First-time makers who are only using a single tool a few hours a week probably don't need a 5 HP blower. The initial price point is higher than a standard shop vac or a 3 HP collector, and the installation effort might be overkill for a modest setup. Also, if you already have a built-in dust collection system that's integrated into your shop's ventilation, the Supercell could be redundant. Finally, anyone who's limited on wall space or can't accommodate a 55-gallon bin should consider the smaller 30-gallon version, but even then you'll need to be comfortable with the wall mount method. On the downside, the unit is louder than a typical 3 HP collector. Even with the built-in fan silencer, The motor hum can reach 78 dB at full speed, roughly the noise level of a busy kitchen. If you have an open-plan workspace or live in a garage that shares a wall with a living space, you might need to add additional sound.